So you've decided PragerU homelessness documentary. Very interesting, chat. Not something I would have predicted you all to choose. But here we are. So you've decided pain and suffering, then. Here we go! And they got some stock footage,
Your
y'all.
first reaction might be to say, oh my gosh, all these poor people are on the street. This is terrible. But what's really important is, are you really seeing the underlying issues? Why are they there?
Good question.
And that question is the most important question to answer. More than
it's personal responsibility. I'm calling it right here. I'm calling that the problem is personal responsibility.
500,000 Americans are homeless on any given night. The problem has grown worse in recent years.
Why is a city as prosperous as San Francisco have a homeless problem? Homelessness is a disease, just like addiction.
New encampments have been popping up throughout LA in the last 5 months.
The state of California can no longer treat homelessness and housing insecurity as someone else's problem.
We don't want to be the tip of the spear.
How did we get here?
We don't have time.
And the paramedics are coming. They're here.
look on the ground. What is it that you're seeing? You're seeing pieces of foil for fentanyl. You're seeing hypodermic needles, all kinds of evidence that says this is not a poverty problem. This is...
Oh shit, are they gonna blame it on drugs? People aren't taking personal responsibility because they're doing the drugs.
something else entirely.
Lost at least 5 people that I knew on the street to fentanyl overdose.
They don't want to listen. But a lot of it is because there's nobody...
Oh, wait. I bet part of this is going to be drugs and a lack of parents. Like, where are the... okay. My guess. Where are the fathers? Drugs. Lack of personal responsibility. And loose immigration policies that are allowing the fentanyl into the country. Because, of course, immigrants are bringing the drugs and not cartels. Okay, that's my guess. My guess is their prescription is going to be, like, build the wall, close the border shit.
Teaching them about recovery, about accountability, about being productive, and you can get out of this. It's okay. Stay there on the ground. Nobody's saying get up off the ground.
Yeah, just go to a homeless encampment and tell them, hey, homeless people, stop being fucking homeless. I'm sure that'll be really effective.
Nowhere is the homeless crisis more apparent than San Francisco. The Golden City spends hundreds of millions of dollars each year to address homelessness, yet the problem has exploded.
Why does this graphic look like it's rendering choppily? That's bizarre. Damn, it's almost like, I don't know, instead of spending on homelessness, you should just give people homes. It's almost like if you built homes for homeless people and just gave them those, you know, like you would actually spend less. I don't know. Weird.
Politicians promise to end the crisis,
We are going to eliminate homelessness by the end of this year.
only to throw up their hands in defeat. So what went wrong? Why are some cities surrendering while others are reducing their homeless population? As in many cases, it boils down to governance. And nearly all the cities in crisis have one policy in common: housing first.
And the housing first model is premised on a very simple and almost intuitive idea that if you're homeless, the problem is that you need a house. And so to solve homelessness, we should merely give people homes.
Yep. Correct. This is correct, objectively. There are numerous studies on this around the world. It has been done elsewhere in the United States. It's not being currently done in San Francisco.
now, this policy is being pushed from the top down.
The program, as I understand it, was started out of New York for the very severely chronically homeless, I believe in the 80s and 90s, and the
No, incorrect. Housing First did not start in New York.
Bush administration got a hold of it, implemented it in 2008. Under the next administration, it was rolled out as a one-size-fits-all solution.
And there's a lot of appeal to that idea that, look, if this person is going to be on the street for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, why don't we just give them a house and not deal with all of the problems of picking them up, putting them in jail, putting them in a hospital, doing the rest of it. Let's find a central place where we can treat them. The problem with this theory is that if you look at the numbers of what's actually causing people to be homeless, it's overwhelmingly problems with mental health and drug addiction.
Damn, if only there was a way you could build homes and also that were somehow close by to some kind of, I don't know, drug, safe ways to get off drugs, and also mental health counseling. If only there was some way you could solve the problem. Also, chat, maybe, just maybe, there might be a few problems where if somebody has mental health issues and is on drugs, where maybe being homeless actually makes those problems worse. Maybe actually if somebody doesn't have a home and they're homeless, their problems with drugs and mental health gets exponentially worse. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. I'm not a doctor, not a mental health professional. Just spitballing.
And Housing First requires no sobriety or treatment in order to receive permanent housing.
Yeah. And that's fine. That's fine. Because we want to eliminate the problem of homelessness, which has a lot of other knock-on health and sociological effects. We're talking about solving homelessness, not solving all drug addiction. Yeah, in the United States, they're Housing First as the Housing First program was developed in the 90s, but this concept has gone back to the 1600s. 1800s Vienna had a Housing First program. There have been other programs around the world and in the United States, just not implemented on a government policy level, that are essentially Housing First. No worries, Comrade Devin. It's a good clarification. Jack, are you telling me that being in a shitty situation you can't get yourself out of makes you more likely to abuse drugs? Shocking. I know. It's crazy. Crazy how PragerU is unironically making the argument that this guy's situation is made better by the fact that he's homeless. I don't know. Probably would be better if this guy was passed out in his own home. That probably would be better for him and everyone else.
If you're going to put somebody in housing and you don't provide any type of services for them, no treatment services, no case management, no anything for them, you just stick them in the house just so you don't have to look at them and they can do what they want in there, how are we really helping?
You want to draw someone in.
Damn, how is someone having a house helping them? Crazy idea, dude. Oh man, this documentary is going to make me so mad. Guys, you know that if you have a house, you can do a lot of things in it that would be illegal to do if you weren't in a house, right? You guys know that, right? For example, if you have a house, generally speaking, that comes with indoor plumbing or some place to use the bathroom, maybe an outhouse, okay? If you just shit on the street, well, that's going to be illegal. It's going to be disturbing to everyone around you. But you know what? If you don't have any other options, that's where you gotta go. Yeah. Being able to do whatever you want in the privacy of your own home, that's part of what having a home is. Also, I'm pretty sure most Housing First programs also are built in conjunction with like drug treatment and like mental health services. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look into it again. I know I have looked into this issue several times. But let's see. There's not a ton of information about this in the places I'm looking. But generally speaking, like even larger scale programs like the 100,000 Homes campaign were predicated on like having members of the community go and like check on rehoused individuals to like make sure that they're doing okay. You know, like usually this is not just done, throw them in a house and then they'll be fine, which is what is being like shown here.
Want to help them get off the street, right? So what they do is they just say, well, we're just going to allow the drugs anyway. And now you have all these people that are staying in shelters, that are staying in.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if PragerU knows this, but like, if you have a home, you can bring whatever you want in there because it's your home and you have a right to privacy. Now, doing drugs is illegal, but guess what? You can't take away a person's autonomy just because they're fucking homeless. Last I checked, this was America.
That are living in tent encampments, using in massive quantities of meth, of fentanyl, heroin, crack cocaine. The city's
damn. It's crazy that people who are forced to live in tents on the street feel hopeless and do drugs. It's crazy. It's crazy that they're not somehow living lives of piety.
Their drug use within that city sanctioned site that your tax dollars and my tax dollars are paying for.
I mean, it brings tears to my eyes because it doesn't look at the individual. It doesn't look at what his or her potential is, and it doesn't help them develop that. To say that all we're going to do is help them aspire to be like that for the rest.
Comrade Devin, I wasn't talking about private Housing First charities.
Rest of their lives by sticking them in a house and not addressing, the issues. It's horrible. I think it's one of the most oppressive things we've done in this century, to be honest with you. And I'm so committed now to getting this changed.
From 2004 to 2014,
Thank you for
San Francisco spent $2 billion on 3,000 new units of permanent housing at a cost of $666,000 per unit, more than double the median home price in America. That money could be spent so much more effectively.
It's shocking to me how little innovation we have because everything is permanent supportive housing or bust, and everything.
Damn. Yeah, if only some capitalist could come along and innovate a fucking solution to homelessness, i.e. squeeze more money out of homeless people or squeeze more money out of government programs to house homeless people.
Else in between is just keeping you alive until you get there. The problem is that half the people on the street aren't going to be alive to realize that housing.
Los Angeles felt the impact of Housing First immediately.
Reverend Andy Bales from the Union Rescue Mission says he saw it coming in 2014 when the national thought process on homelessness shifted towards a Housing First model. He says he saw donations to the missions on Skid Row plummet.
We had foundations that used to give us $1 million shift to Housing First only. We had another foundation that shifted that gave us $750,000.
And only now is his intuition providing proof. This study, released this week from the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, showing since the recovery services decreased, homelessness went up more than 15% nationwide.
Compounding the problem, cities like Austin, Texas have legalized street camping. Addicts poured out of shelters and treatment, back to where drugs...
Yeah, Comrade Devin, to be absolutely clear, I would never advocate for private charity as a means to end homelessness. Because if private charity worked to end homelessness, we wouldn't have homelessness right now. Private charity has never ended homelessness, ever. And so we need a concentrated and focused governmental policy that actually funds this issue. And it would be cheaper than what we currently do, which is patchwork and ineffective as shit.
And crime abound. In Austin, homeless deaths rose by 25% in a matter of months.
Yeah, also, to be very clear, I don't agree with anything in this video, because this video is being put out by a right-wing think tank. So, in case there's any confusion here, their solutions are going to be dog shit.
The number that should absolutely horrify Americans is that in LA, you have about 3 individuals die on the streets a day. If you look at this relative to the whole homeless community in LA, this means that they have death rates higher than soldiers that we sent off to Iraq or Afghanistan.
First of all, it's no place to live, right? You living on in a tent.
Damn, it's no place to live. Maybe they should be given a place to live by some kind of governmental program that prioritizes housing. I don't know, like some kind of housing first program that is fully funded and integrated with mental health services. Damn, crazy.
Tent or in a doorway, it is so substandard, right? For anybody, this is not a way for a human in this year to ever live. There's no infrastructure for it. Where's the toilet? Where's the sanitation? Where's the ability to even get help when you're sick? Right? It's not there.
In May,
but it helps when you have a home.
May of 2021, Austin residents voted to reinstate the city's camping ban.
I just believe that today is just no accountability in society as a whole.
I told you guys it was gonna be like, oh, these crafty homeless people are not accountable. There's no personal responsibility going on here
For people's actions anymore. It's like I'll use the bathroom any way I want to, whether it's in front of kids or not. I'm just saying about what.
Damn. Too bad they don't have a home in which they can piss and shit.
I see. And I'm still going to serve those that are in need or somebody that's going to always be less fortunate than me. We've worked with programs that when they first started, like taking people off of the street housing programs, people would live in houses and live in rooms and still like they were living on the street. They wouldn't sleep in the bed. Everything was close to them. Paranoia set in.
Yeah, maybe because they didn't feel like they were going to be able to live there for a prolonged period of time. Because history has shown that people treat homeless people very shittily.
And trust anybody being in there. They didn't even know how to live inside.
Are we providing housing for homeless people?
The argument that, like, oh, homeless people don't know how to live in homes correctly anymore is such a... Look, I'm going to be honest, guys. I've never heard someone argue that we shouldn't give homeless people homes because they've forgotten how to live in homes. I've never heard that argument before. That actually is mind-blowing to me. Well, you see, if we give them safe places to live, they'll just be confused. Is possibly the shittiest reason to keep people homeless I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, Spear Bash Johnson, exactly, that is what they are doing. Yeah, like you see the homeless, like these two guys are like half a step away from doing like phrenology for homeless people. They're about to be like, well, you see, the homeless skull can't actually, it's actually lost the bit of the brain that allows one to know how to be housed. What's the alternative? We haven't gotten that far yet. We still have like 15 minutes of this left, so I guess we'll see. But so far, it's been a lot of talk about personal responsibility.
So they can get off the street so we don't have to look at them? Or are we providing them housing so they can be able to sustain themselves and be able to live?
A thousand individuals dying on the streets every year is not compassionate, and merely saying we're going to let people camp on the streets because we think it's uncompassionate to push them off it is not the right path. Places like San Diego and others say, listen, if we're going to push you off the streets, we're going to give you an alternative.
And according to people who have experienced homelessness firsthand, the root of the problem is mental illness and addiction, not housing.
Again, yeah, mental illness makes it hard to be housed. Addiction makes it hard to be housed. But you know what makes mental illness and addiction way worse? And we know this because there have been studies on it. Being unhoused. So if you want to alleviate at least some of the issues here, you gotta give them homes first. That's step one. Like, sorry, you expect people without homes to be going to fucking therapy? No, you gotta have a home first, dog. Gotta have a home first. Yeah, most of the shelters in the area I'm in, Comrade Devin, are pretty dog shit and unsafe, and like a lot of homeless people will avoid them unless it's like the winter time and they have no other option. It's real bad. A lot of like assaults and frankly sexual assaults happen in there.
Meeting will come to order. Welcome to the Thursday, February 11th meeting of the Public Safety and Neighborhood Services Committee.
Agenda 1 is a hearing on the San Francisco Recovery Summit Working Group report and findings.
Tom Wolf, I'd like to invite you to speak.
Good morning, everyone. Only 3 years ago today, I was sleeping on a piece of cardboard in the doorway on Golden Gate and Hyde in the Tenderloin, severely addicted to heroin. I am living proof that there's a direct correlation between homelessness and substance use in the city. You can build all the housing and get everybody off the street housed, but if you're struggling with addiction or mental illness, you're just housed with drug addiction and mental illness. People say, oh, I lost my job and I became homeless. But then you have to ask, why did you lose your job? I lost my job because I was going to work and shooting up in the bathroom on my lunch break and then going back and sitting on my desk and...
Damn, he was being so irresponsible. I'm sure that problem got much better when he became homeless. So first of all, by the way, here's from the National Alliance to End Homelessness. Just looking at, does Housing First work? There is a large and growing evidence base demonstrating that Housing First is an effective solution to homelessness. Consumers in a Housing First model access housing faster and are more likely to remain stably housed. This is true for both permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing programs. PSH has a long-term housing retention rate of up to 98%. So again, the argument that if you don't give, like if you don't give, like just don't give them homes, they've forgotten how to live in them. This is just objectively untrue. It is objectively untrue. They are just lying. I would need to look more into San Francisco specifically, but from what I know from having looked at other programs is that usually the issue comes down to people not wanting to fully fund housing first programs, because it does take a rather large investment on the front end, right? And why do that when you could just continue leaking money on ineffective homelessness programs, or just beef up some contracts with some private prisons and put more homeless people in jail, you know? And this is maybe they aren't disregarding housing. It seems like they're saying yes, housing and mental wellness / addiction care. Well, here's the thing, Cassiopeia Star, I might agree with you, except that this is a PragerU documentary, and they're trying to set up a scenario where no, we don't want to provide housing to these people. The argument that they're making in this documentary seems to be mostly that this is a personal responsibility problem and a mental health problem. And Republicans / conservatives love to talk about the need to beef up mental health programs, but historically have literally done diddly shit to ever support mental health. Ever. Conservatives love to scapegoat on mental health, but they never, ever, ever have actually followed through to invest in mental health services. Ever. Every mass shooting, they're like, well, he was mentally deranged. Obviously we need to invest more in mental health services. It's not the guns, it's the mental health. We've had hundreds of mass shootings. Hundreds. They've become commonplace in America. Not once have conservatives beefed up funding for mental health care. Most of the people I met while homeless weren't homeless because of drugs or mental illness. They were homeless because their parents left, they were escaping domestic abuse, or they just had zero safety net in the form of friends and family. Yeah. I mean, this documentary is not even I'm making the arguments as if you just took all of what they're saying at face value, but also most of what they're saying is deeply flawed. There are many, many, many reasons people are homeless. Oh, wait, let's see. Also, studies have shown that rapid rehousing helps people exit homelessness quickly. In one study, an average of 2 months, and remain housed. A variety of studies have shown that between 75% and 91% of households remain housed a year after being rapidly rehoused. So, yeah. No, we have programs that effectively end homelessness. People just don't want to invest in them. And part of it is because there are a lot of NIMBYs, the not in my backyard types, who do not want to have a giant, housing first program facility or apartment built in their neighborhood because they believe it will bring more crime. There are a lot of these types of folks who just do not want that group of people close to them. It's not great. Let's see. Also, yeah, alt fact, that was a real weird comment.
Passing out. From what I saw and the people that I encountered on the street, it's about 8 out of every 10 people that are visible, that we see every day out on the street, living in tents, etc. They're struggling with addiction.
Damn. Good thing we have this guy's anecdotal situation and not actual data. Too bad no one's ever done data on why people are homeless before. I'm uncomfortable with what you said and gonna time you out. That is not the proper response to when someone's like calling you out for saying something weird and uncomfortable. Okay, moving on.
A recent study agreed. Over 75% of unsheltered have a drug or alcohol addiction, and a similar number also have a severe mental health disorder.
I was a child support officer for the city and county of San Francisco. It was a very stressful job, working with a lot of domestic violence victims. I became homeless because of my addiction, and I think a lot more people do become homeless because of addiction than what people think. You know, scientifically, we know that addiction is a disease. So my survival instincts got basically corrupted by these drugs. I also needed drugs in the same kind of way that I needed food. I would do anything to get them, making up lies to get money from my family while I was out there. And while I was on the street homeless, even then, I still thought I had some control over my life because all I really wanted in my addiction was the drugs. That's how powerful it is. Some people criticize.
Yo, Semi Knifey Duck, thank you for gifting a sub to Cassiopeia Star. You know what kind of people also struggle with addiction? Housed people. Addiction and housing are two separate problems that need to be attacked together. Exactly, Circuit Overlord. It's almost like, you know, life is complicated and not just like one circle of things. It's almost like life is a gigantic Venn diagram of things that overlap, you know?
Criticize me for some of the stuff that I say, but you know what? It can't just be all touchy-feely out there, because being on the street is not touchy-feely.
Cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles fail to realize the power of addiction and dangerously believe that addiction is a choice, not a disease. They condone this behavior and even help promote it.
One of the main policies that I feel like I'm constantly battling is the city's obsession with harm reduction.
The baseline goal of harm reduction is to keep you alive long enough in the hopes that you'll find recovery. But what it's morphed into in San Francisco is something different. It's really blurring the lines between harm reduction and then drug promotion.
Yo, Entrama, thank you for gifting a sub to Comrade Devin. That's a real comraderly thing to do.
At the same time.
How this is playing out on our streets is that instead of encouraging treatment, what we say, just keep on going.
Well, no. So the entire point of like safe injection sites isn't to like say keep on going. It's to prevent people from getting preventable illnesses. It alleviates the burden on the healthcare system to not have people in there just because they had to reuse needles. They aren't like giving people drugs and saying, have a good shoot up. You know, like that's not how this works. It prevents overdoses. It prevents dirty needle based diseases. You know, like there's a whole lot of different things that go into this. And it's not encouraging drug use. In fact, I'm pretty sure most safe injection sites are built with providing treatment to the people who go there to use them. So like it's the space is literally built to encourage people to get treatment because those people are going to use anyway. Yeah. So, you know, it's a lot easier to make good decisions when you aren't battling hepatitis infection. My mom has been homeless, and it wasn't due to addiction or mental illness, just bad financial circumstances. Her being homeless, however, did deepen her feelings of depression, made it harder for her to find stability. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and they can Narcan them if they OD. Yep. Yeah. Also, people seem to think that, like, Narcan... I've encountered this idea a lot from, like, conservatives, where they think, like, the availability of Narcan means that, like, oh, hell yeah, you can just overdose. It's going to be amazing. Like, if you overdose and need Narcan, That's not a pleasant experience for you. You're not like tripping balls and dying. You're like having like a fucking like panic attack, stroke, heart attack all at once. It's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be a good time. Yeah, sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, overdose does not mean super mega high, man. Yeah. And with all the illicit fentanyl in the supply, anyone can OD. That's a really good point, Irked. It's a really good point. Narcan basically makes you go into withdrawal instead of ODing. Yeah, it's not a good time. It's not like you're having a blast almost dying. I became homeless when I was escaping a domestic abuse situation, was dealing with a disability that severely restricted my ability to work most jobs, had no support from my family. Yeah. 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 I'm sorry that happened to you.
Program that has a program has to have a harm reduction policy within it.
One of those requirements that's listed really down at the bottom and buried in there is that you need to have clean drug paraphernalia available at all times for the residents of your drug rehab. They'll hand out a pamphlet saying, here are some safe ways for you to use fentanyl so you don't overdose. Yep. Make sure you use a clean needle, make sure you clean the area that you're going to inject.
What? Why is any of this bad? Like, I'm sorry, did you want people to, like, fucking die? Or get diseases? Like, the entire point is so that they can get clean and, like, be cool. not be cool, but, like, be fine.
Make sure you register it.
This is literally the argument that if you like have sex ed, kids are going to have more sex. If you tell people how to do this safely, they're going to do it more, which no. That is not accurate.
Before you inject the needle inside your vein, and then at the end of all that, it'll say, enjoy your high. Here I am trying to kick heroin, man. And I'm in the drug rehab and I walk by the table every day with syringes and cookers and foil and straws looking right at me and pipes. And you wonder why nobody's getting clean. You make it easier to get high and so hard to get treatment in San Francisco that it hurts. And it's literally killing people.
In 2019, the city saw a 70% increase over 2018 in overdose deaths. And during the pandemic, San Francisco went so far as to deliver free drugs and alcohol to homeless staying in hotel rooms that the city paid for. What happened?
Just real quick here. Okay. A 2014 review of 75 studies concluded that safe injection sites promote safer injection conditions, duh, reduce overdoses, also duh, increase access to health services, which is good. They were associated with less outdoor drug use, so you had less people on the street doing drugs, which probably also leads to less people like being able to find drugs when they're trying to buy illicit substances. And they did not appear to have any negative impacts on crime or drug use. Interesting. Let's see. There was another review published in August of 2018 that found less positives, but still overall positives of such sites. However, that review was later retracted by the journal that published it, International Journal of Drug Policy, for its methodological weaknesses. So the best evidence we have right now indicates that actually, yes, they are quite good. However, most of the sites that we have in the United States are apparently like grassroots and community driven. So we don't have a ton of big budget safe site injection program like implementation. And that could be one of the difficulties associated with the policy. Hey, Casey. So now this is an attack on harm reduction. So now it's more like they're saying, no, not housing, also not harm reduction. Yeah, I'm guessing that this is going to somehow, in the next 12 minutes, because we have 12 minutes, or 10 minutes of this left, rather, I'm guessing it's somehow going to get around to border control, and it's also going to get around to, we need more personal responsibility. Because that's what they've been hinting at already. Let's see. Oh, here we go. We also have some evidence from Canada on safe injection sites. Okay. Let's see, much of the existing research for effects of supervised injection sites comes from two places: the Medically Supervised Injecting Center in Sydney, Australia, and Insight, a facility in Vancouver, which public health officials have operated and researched for 15 years. When Insight opened, supervised injection was contentious in Canada. After years of drug user-led activism, the government approved it as a pilot, creating a place with wraparound addiction services under the same roof, and mandated scientific evaluations on impact from the start. Let's see. Milloy, who is part of a team that researches Insight, says it points to the benefits of supervised injection. The research was observational, drawing from unique data sets. Since 1996, well before Insight, researchers had followed 1,500 active drug users in the city as part of one of the largest long-term studies on drug users in North America. They then recruited 1,050 people at Insight and followed them over time as well. Since opening in 2003, the facility has supervised more than 3.6 million injections and responded to more than 6,000 overdoses. No one has ever died there. So, objectively, you could say that this one site in Vancouver has saved 6,000 lives. They found no signs of a so-called honeypot effect at Insight, meaning it did not seem to encourage, or it didn't encourage or increase drug use. In a study published in Lancet, which is one of the most prestigious medical journals, Milloy and other researchers found that the fatal overdose rate sharply decreased in and around the immediate area of the site. Additional evaluations from Milloy's group and the Regional Health Ministry found that Insight averted about 50 deaths in the last 3 to 4 years of operation, that people were less likely to engage in behaviors that would lead to HIV infections, and that those who used Insight were more likely to initiate detoxing from drugs and access treatments like methadone compared to those who weren't using the facility. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, like, everything they're saying is wrong.
Happens when a city plays drug dealer? In 2020, the death rate among San Francisco homeless doubled. Many of these lives could have been saved.
Wait. Might there have been something else going on in 2020 that might have disproportionately affected people without homes? Might there have been something going on in 2020 that would have caused an exponential increase in the amount of deaths in the homeless community in the middle of a pandemic? They are really massaging these statistics.
Saved. We know how to fix this problem. And the good news is that leaders across the country are doing just that.
Homelessness is not an issue in California. It is the issue. When I first took office, it quickly became clear to me that the search for consensus on the perfect thing to do was turning into non-action, not just here in the city, but up and down the entire state of California. I knew we had to.
Let's see who this guy is. Kevin Falconer. Okay, Kevin Falconer. Let's see. Do 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 do. Oh, neat. He vetoed a measure that would have increased minimum wage in San Diego to $11.50 per hour in 2014. Jesus. God. Oh, what yeah, I have a great plan to reduce homelessness, and that is to deny an increase to the minimum wage. Housing and homelessness. Let's just take a quick look here. Falconer has been an outspoken opponent of the not in my backyard mentality. That's nice. That's good. He called for scrapping restrictions on housing development, such as building height limits near public transit and parking requirements, as well as various restrictions on dense housing, including affordable housing. Wow, he was against affordable housing, huh? Okay. He's called for streamlining of the approvals process. Let's see. Oh, he increased. He did a 40% increase in funding from 2018 to 2019 to open shelter tents and safe parking spots. Okay, I mean these are relatively okay. A storage center for the homeless. That's good. And successful advocacy for more funding from the state. That's good. Just a month before the end of his term as mayor, Faulkner put a package of affordable housing proposals before the San Diego City Council called Complete Communities. Package incentivized building to reduce homelessness while banning the use of said buildings for short-term rentals like Airbnb. Also creates an ongoing funding stream for public transportation via fees on more suburban developers, and prioritizes improvements in parks in low-income areas. And they approved his plan in November of 2020. Okay, I mean, that's nice. That all sounded good. On July 23rd of 2021, a San Diego Union Tribune audit report revealed a serious lack of policies and oversight caused the city to miss or skip key steps in the acquisition process, and that Faulkner's administration left out or misrepresented key information. The audit revealed Faulkner stated the property only needed $10,000 in repair, but ultimately needed $115 million in repairs and improvements. What? Wait, what? The fuck? Wait. Here we got an AP report. Let's take a look at this. His administration failed to follow best practices and conduct due diligence when spending hundreds of millions of dollars on real estate purchases. The San Diego Union Tribune discovered 4 real estate deals totaling $230 million that the city entered into under Faulkner's leadership. The auditors wrote a serious lack of policies and oversight caused the city to miss or skip key steps in the acquisition process, and that his administration left out key information. It was much of the audit focused on one building, known as 101 Ash Street, that the city bought with plans to use as a consolidated office space for city employees. But the city only used the property for a few weeks after asbestos was found. Holy shit. They didn't fucking inspect it? The audit faults Faulkner's administration for failing to fully inform the city council and public about the property. City staff told the council this building would need just $10,000 in repairs, but city contractors later estimated the building needed $115 million in repairs and improvements. Holy shit. Yeah, this little whoopsie daisy does not inspire confidence in this guy's ability to house people successfully. Jesus.
Had to do things differently. Allowing somebody to live on a sidewalk in our city streets is condemning them to die on the street. That was unacceptable. I do not allow tent encampments in San Diego on our sidewalks anymore. Every individual has a right to shelter. But if we provide that shelter, you have an obligation to use it. So I started a series of new bridge shelters in San Diego. It's a bridge between living on the street and being able to stand on your own 2 feet in that place on your own. I don't want you off the street for a night or for a week, but we want to help provide a safe, clean, sanitary, and supportive environment to get you off the streets for good.
If you've got a need, you're willing to work together, we can fix things 90% of the time. Before we had the bridge shelters, people had no choice. And that's why the judges, they wouldn't enforce the policy because there was no alternative to being homeless, because there was no place to start the process to get off the street. Everybody drank the Housing First Kool-Aid, which I knew. There was a city council meeting and they said, we're not going to do shelters anymore because we're going to do housing first. And I said on camera with all the news agents outside, this is going to be a disaster because now people don't have any place to go to wait for that housing that may or may not ever come. Look at the billions and billions and billions of dollars being wasted right now in communities like Seattle, Portland, LA, San Francisco, San Jose, billions of dollars by allowing people to kill themselves publicly.
I think that actually, if the cities all implemented housing first programs on a wide scale available to everyone in the cities or states, we would actually see far greater improvements.
Same money and invest in people on the street and say, you're better than this.
Yeah, you're better than this.
And invest in people on the street and say, you're better.
Yeah, this looks fine. Yeah, like, chat, I mean... Yeah, I just want to point out, like, A, these are places where your stuff can get stolen quite easily. B, which would you prefer? This or a home of your own? Which would you prefer? Like, which has more dignity? Sleeping in like a auditorium or fucking being in your own home, you know? Yeah, like this just looks like a temporary solution to a natural disaster. And I'm sorry, homelessness is not a natural disaster. Homelessness is a human-made condition, which is better than a natural disaster because that means we can fix it. So let's fix it.
Better than this.
Bridge shelters are so much more than a shelter. Housing navigation, how do we match you with resources to get that apartment of your own? Dealing with mental health and substance abuse issues, dealing with job training issues, bringing all of those services underneath one location. One of the changes that I made was establish a series of storage centers for personal belongings. Free of charge. It has allowed our streets to be much cleaner. Again, it was the right thing to do by changing that dynamic, providing the incentive to...
I also embezzled hundreds of millions of dollars with contractors. So that's fun.
Do the right thing, but also the consequences if you do the wrong thing. I'm proud that we're the only urban county in California where homelessness has gone down the last 2 years. And there's nothing more I like than to interact with somebody who maybe was a skeptic of what we were doing in terms of putting up a bridge shelter or the help and support that we're given, to come back to me and say, Mr. Mayor, you know what? This worked out pretty well.
San Diego reduced its unsheltered homeless population by more than 20% in recent years. What does San Diego understand that its neighbors don't? That compassion must work with accountability, and that by banning street camping...
Damn, Did you guys ever wonder why their statistics are ending in 2020 or 2019 when this documentary is coming out in 2022? It's because in 2020 the homelessness problem in San Diego doubled. Twice as many people were homeless in 2020 as in 2019.
We can incentivize people to seek better opportunities.
Back to the old days where you would have tent encampments. That was not helpful to the individuals, obviously, that were living on the streets. It's not helpful for your neighborhoods, for your business. That's the wrong approach. That's the failed status quo approach.
If I was on the street and you'd come up to me when I was sitting there hitting my heroin on my foil and they said, hey, if you said, hey, Tom, you want to go to rehab? Do you have a drug problem? My answer to you would have been, what drug problem? I'm just chilling out here, man.
San Diego definitely not like solved its homelessness problem by giving people an auditorium to live in, and definitely there aren't any encampments in San Diego currently. Certainly, San Diego is the bee's knees of dealing with homelessness. Except there are still homeless encampments in San Diego. Homeless encampment to remain in Midway District after cleanup. City sent mixed signals. Neighbors upset about 100 tents on Sports Arena Boulevard. About 100 homeless people were told to pick up their tents and move from an encampment on Sports Arena Boulevard on Tuesday, but they didn't go far. While some people who watched the action said they expected the encampment to be dismantled and cleared out, city crews and police officers merely directed residents to move their belongings across the street to allow a crew to clean the south side of Sports Arena Boulevard between Rosecrans Street and Pacific Highway. While notices had been posted at the site announcing the cleanup, some people said they were taken by surprise and scrambled to pull their belongings together as the city crew and trash truck approached. Homeless advocates who had come to observe the action pitched in, picking up and moving tents and other items across the streets. And I guess everyone assumed that they were going to be cleared out, but that didn't happen. Okay. Yeah, definitely solved the problem.
That's what most people say. I agree with Mayor Faulconer on the issue of street camping in that so long as we have a shelter bed that we can offer them, they should be obligated to take that shelter bed at least for a day or two, right? To just try it, what it's like getting off the street.
In Austin, some individuals are taking action into their own hands. And Alan Graham believes there's a better approach.
We believe very powerfully that government should only play a subsidiary role to you and I in mitigating these profound human needs that our society explores. What we want to do is encourage people to move out of that transactional mentality that we're going to go build, $600 billion worth of housing over here, and we're going to put people in there, and it's going to solve this housing problem. It's not.
The people that we serve.
Well, it definitionally does, though. Like, that's part of the problem, right? Like, yeah, it's not going to solve all. Housing people doesn't solve all of their problems, but it solves exactly one problem and alleviates a lot of other issues that compound on one another, which is it solves them being homeless. And if you make that a thing that they have access to and that is theirs, regardless of what they do, that is something that is good, that is objectively good for people.
Here are the hardest to house. The average age of the people.
Yeah, exactly, Semi-Knifey Duck. The entire thing is, well, if we don't have a magic wand to solve all of the problems, then a partial solution is pointless, which is insane.
58 years old. The average length of time on the streets is 10 years. These are folks that genuinely, they never thought they would get off the streets. They were certain that they would be on the streets until they died. What we believe is that the forged family has to come around them, right? That it is all of us. And what happens in our culture today is that we've abdicated responsibility for that to the government, and we've said city hall, state government, federal government.
Hey, fun facts for you guys. Even if you didn't give a shit, even if you didn't give a single shit about homeless people at all, there are studies that have shown that someone who is chronically homeless costs the taxpayer in the United States, as of 2017, so 5 years ago, $35,578 per year. Right? You can house people for far less money than that. So let's just house them. Goodness. Rocket launcher. Who's there?
Your problem to solve. And it's not. It's a human problem. It's all of us. When you decide on one way, you're limiting innovation. And that's really what's happened.
I'm sorry, who has innovated anything in this video? The person that they put forward as innovating did precisely one thing, and that was give people tents in an indoor auditorium, which isn't an innovation. That's just giving people a shitty place to live temporarily. Oh, I'm sorry, Semi-Knifey Duck. I guess the government ran out of the magical sobriety-inducing houses.
Community first, the movement, is an innovation. Lots of people thought that this model could never work. We continue to invest in relationship.
Cassiopeia, I think that there are models that work around the world where you can at the very least decommodify housing for people of like a certain income bracket, or build facilities that largely cater to these problems. What you're talking about is true, but we're also never going to be able to abolish investment housing until we abolish capitalism. And frankly, we need solutions for homelessness and homeless people in the meantime. So, like, this will be an imperfect solution, obviously, but it will be better than what we have right now.
We continue to show up for each other, and it turns out that community actually does work.
Community First Village gives homeless individuals something Housing First policies can never: a family. People holding each other accountable, supporting each other. By providing a sustainable ecosystem for these individuals to thrive in, drug addiction, alcohol use, and other harmful behaviors have plummeted.
How do you bring somebody into purposeful living? And when you look at what's happening inside this community, what they're being given is a community. Organic farming operation, a blacksmithing shop, a wood shop, an art house, all the things that allow people to wake up in the morning and have purpose. Well, there's
I like the idea of a community-centered model for addressing homelessness, but I don't think that is a widely available thing you can implement, and I don't think blacksmithing is the solution to homelessness. We need the facilities where people can live and work and build communities that are in urban settings. They're arguing against housing only, not housing first. Well, they're characterizing the argument as against housing first. So that's part of the main issue, Irked, is that their argument is portraying housing first as a boogeyman and using the term for that is used for housing first and making it scary and bad. And it's not. I mean, blacksmithing is pretty dope. It's just like, I don't know that someone's gonna get off drugs because of blacksmithing. Yeah, Freckle, exactly. Doesn't solve every problem, therefore won't work. It won't give you everything you need, therefore won't work. Yeah, Metal Kitty Mom, the PragerU here is doing the equivalent of what leftists do all the time, where like, if there is something on the table politically that might address some of a problem, it's not good enough because it doesn't address all of a problem. You know? Like, I don't know. I'd take a lot of things that would improve healthcare. I'd take you know what? It'd be really great if Democrats could pass a bill to make the child tax credit permanent. You know, that'd be really great. That would help literally hundreds of thousands of children, you know? So it wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't be the whole Build Back Better, but it would be good. And I wouldn't turn my nose up at it just because it's not the perfect thing. There's that saying, don't let the good be the enemy, or don't let the perfect be the enemy of good. There we go. Suspicious Milky Substance, thank you so much for the raid. We're covering a topic on homelessness. Hope you're having a good one. It's been a while since we seen you around these parts. Oh, hi there. How are you? I'm doing all right. This documentary is making me mad though. And I didn't do my makeup today, so I feel a little
Rules to live here. You must pay rent. And do you know that we don't have a rent collection problem here and never have? Because
Okay, so you're not providing housing. You're just moving people into a company town. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, they're putting these people to work in the blacksmithing shop. Oh no. Wait, this is way worse than I thought it was. Yeah, you move into the community and then you're just trapped there using the company's script. Holy shit. I should have expected. I should have seen this coming. I should have seen this coming.
Everybody knows that they must pay rent. When you pay rent, turns out that you're invested. You have skin in the game. And
fuck that. Fuck that. People fucking hate paying rent, okay? I fucking hate paying rent. It's literally one of the worst parts about existing in modern society.
And every human needs to have skin in the game. And
Entrama, can you get the audio clip of this man saying every human needs skin? I just want to hear him say it again.
Every human needs to have skin.
Every human needs to have skin. Yeah, exactly, Cassiopeia. Like, I don't know, like, if something breaks that isn't mine, it's just kind of like, okay, fuck this. Fuck that, it's not mine.
In the game. And that is what is lacking out there on the streets.
Yeah, out there on the streets, you got no skin in the game. You're not in a game. You're just skin on the streets, and it's bad, and everything sucks, and it makes all of your problems worse.
Incentives and accountability work. The Doe Fund in New York City has transformed tens of thousands of lives through its Ready, Willing, and Able program, which combines paid work, transitional housing, and comprehensive social services, including sobriety support. An independent study by Harvard University found that Ready, Willing, and Able graduates are 60% less likely to be convicted of a felony 3 years after exiting the program.
Damn, that's great. But you know what helps to not commit felonies? It helps when you have a home to not do that. That's another thing that it helps you not do. You know, that being homeless also really helps you to not commit felonies. And we have data where if we just provide someone permanent housing, it's like 98% effective at keeping people housed. I don't know. Like, come on. Oh, true. Didn't say they don't commit the felonies. They just got away with it. Yeah, they all became lawyers. They got real good.
Researchers at the University of Alabama tested a similar hypothesis by providing homeless with housing conditioned upon drug and alcohol treatment. They found that 64% of residents maintained sobriety. Instead of pumping billions of dollars into housing first, it's time to use performance-based funding that rewards the programs that truly make a difference. For the price of one housing unit in San Francisco, we could build dozens of transitional shelters.
Where? Because building anything in San Francisco is going to cost fucking infinite money. Like, you can't ship your homeless people to Alabama. I'm sorry. It might be cheaper to build transitional housing there, but it's not going to solve the problem. Goodness. I guys, I've gone into this subject so many times. I've looked at the data, I've looked at the research. The cost for like housing homeless people is like 1/3 to sometimes even like 1/5. It depends on where it is. But like you save just buttloads of cash by housing people. Transitional housing to what? Well, that's the thing, Irked. They're just talking about building like tent villages or like auditorium like living spaces until you stop being homeless. Oh, interesting. So here's some findings from from research done by numerous different outlets on different major programs across the United States. So we have here, let's see, a study across Canada here. Participants in Housing First rapidly obtained housing and retained their housing at a much higher rate than the treatment as usual group. After 2 years, 62% of the Housing First participants were housed the whole time, compared to 31% of those who were required to participate in treatment prior to the receipt of housing. So, literally double the amount of people are successfully remain housed with Housing First as a response to this problem. No problem, Ryla. Thank you very much. You get good sleep, okay? Let's see here. The economic analysis found some cost savings and cost offsets. Every $10 invested in Housing First services resulted in the average savings of $9.60 for high needs participants and $3.42 for moderate need participants. Significant cost savings were realized for the 10% of participants who had highest costs at study entry. For those individuals, every $10 invested in Housing First resulted in an average savings of $21.72 or 72 cents. So yeah, basically, if you really need housing, if you are really struggling with mental health and addiction, like, this literally saves money. Like crazy. According to this widespread Canada study, 2015 study found that Housing First programs were more effective at increasing outpatient service utilization, meaning more people got into treatment, as well as outreach to and engagement of clients who were not appropriately served by the public mental health system. So, again, people got mental health as well as help for their addictions with this Housing First program. Okay. Studies have shown that Housing First reduces hospital visits, admissions, and duration of hospital stays among homeless individuals. Overall public system spending is reduced by nearly as much as is spent on housing. Moreover, participants in Housing First reduced alcohol use and likelihood of intoxication, despite no requirement to abstain from or reduce drinking to remain housed. So, first of all, it saved money just housing them in general. And then you also saved money because there was less utilization of hospital services. Okay, yeah. I don't know. This is a really compelling argument to me.
Or fund proven treatment programs.
Housing First is part of a proven treatment program.
Meanwhile, our elected officials must promote policies that address the root causes of homelessness.
What I think everybody's aim should be is this: self-sufficiency. We don't want people in this perpetual cycle. We want financial independence. We want emotional independence. We want independence that's perhaps free of the substance that's keeping them down.
All things that are addressed by Housing First programs.
We always are told that me and Craig, we're not the most compassionate.
Hey, Mason the Robin, thank you so much for the raid. Hello, Raiders. We're covering homelessness from PragerU, which is a conservative outlet. Hello, hello, hello. Love you all. God, is that Lilith from Frasier? I don't know, maybe.
Passionate individuals in the world.
Hey,
we take the compassionate approach by making it happen for people. And making it happen also means sometimes telling them no. But what we don't do is
sometimes when people are homeless and they need a home, you just say no. That'll fix the problem.
We don't give up on anyone. No matter what they do, how they do it, we're going to be there for them. That's what keeps us going and keeps us moving for whether we have no money or not. We will still do this work.
I mean, that's great. You know, it's great that they're out there volunteering to help homeless people. But the issue is you need a fucking policy. You need governmental policy to actually solve the issue. Because private charity isn't going to solve the issue. You need an actual program that will zone appropriately, that will build the housing, that will provide the program and maintain it and provide the associated services or connect with the associated services. You need all that. Excuse me. Also, hello, Raiders. If you don't know who I am, my name's Riverboat Jack, and I talk about politics. And I sometimes play games. I recently built Elden Ring. I beat it. I beat it good. Yeah. Here we go. Let's finish this.
Humanitarian crisis. But there are solutions. By denying the solutions...
And those solutions are... go live with this old man in his rural community and blacksmith it to pay your rent. That was the one solution that they proposed.
We excuse ourselves from making hard choices that can transform lives. It's easy to hand someone an apartment key and think that the problem is solved. It's hard work getting them to treatment, holding them accountable, and helping them return to a
you don't need to get them to treatment. They'll take care of that themselves eventually if you provide the surrounding support structure to make that a possibility.
Safe and healthy life. But that work...
When will these homeless finally begin having some personal accountability? They're being so irresponsible, being homeless.
Must be done if we truly care for the most vulnerable among us.
Among us?
Thank you for watching this video. PragerU is doing a survey.
God, I feel like this man is a deep fake. Listen to his voice. Just look at him. This man is a deep fake, guys.
Pure, undiluted garbage, meaningless drivel nonsense. That's all they were. Junk. And when I thought this is what these kids in this preschool are seeing.
Honestly, Entry Mode, that sound clip is doing so much amazing work. I love it so much. I love it so much. Y'all are in my preschool now. Okay, but seriously, doesn't this guy look like a deepfake?
And the homelessness problem. What do you think? Please click the link to take our survey. Thanks so much for your support.
Does PragerU have a Patreon? No, they have billionaires. They don't need a Patreon.